Greetings from Costa Rica. It's a special Sunday chat today. I'm joined by Elias
Rodriguez.
Elias Rodriguez, restaurateur and local person who was born here in the community. He's lived his entire life in Guanacaste, and our topic today is food in Costa Rica. And to be clear, we're going to focus mainly on food in Guanacaste, the northwestern province of Costa Rica, where our experience is based. There are a diverse variety of food traditions, especially on the eastern side of the country. There are differences, obviously, with every different region you visit, but we're going to focus on Guanacaste. Thanks very much for joining me, Elias, who is also now a restaurateur. He and his buddies operate Tatas Taberna next door to my office. At the end of this episode today, my family and I will sit down and enjoy a Costa Rican Casado, courtesy of Tatas. Actually, we are going to pay for it.
Okay.
But Elias, tell us your story.
Hi, Matt. So I'm so happy to talk about all my foods. I was growing eating in my whole life. So first of all, I want to talk about my daily eating in my whole life. So I was born in Paraíso, and I grew up with my parents and my grandparents. They have a farm, and we eat every day tortillas con cuajada, gallo pinto in the morning, and also arroz y frijoles, rice and beans.
And to review what you just said, the cuajada and tortilla, first of all. La cuajada, and maybe Danielle can bring up a picture showing it, is local cheese.
That's right. It's a local cheese, made by hand. We did not use any container to prepare the cuajada. You see there, but this is a cut cuajada. The cuajada looks like a round, like a ball. Different than the cheese. The cheese looks like a square.
Yep.
Cuajada looks round.
Yep. There you can see pieces of cuajada on the screen. And one of the things that I first wanted to address, I think that a lot of foreigners come here imagining that Central America is just one big Mexico, and that the food in Costa Rica is going to be like the Mexican food that you've tried in the US or Canada. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. Really, you don't see tacos, burritos, that sort of Mexican-American, interpretation on that food here in Costa Rica. You really don't see spicy food very much at all.
No. We have our own traditional food, which I mean, casado. Casado is a rice and beans mixed with.
We'll get to the casado
later. We get to casado, but we don't have this spicy food here.
Yep.
We are different from Mexico. We have completely different custom on the kitchen here.
Yep. So you were talking about every day eating a lot of cuajada, the cheese made fresh at the farm, Pinto, which is rice and beans, and we'll talk a bit more about that. Tortilla made out of maize from the farm.
Exactly.
What are some of the other daily staples that you would constantly eat growing up?
We got frito. Frito, it's being made by pork meat. We cut this meat in a little tiny pieces and mix it with many spices like onions, cilantros, peppers. What else? Any kind of spicy we can find in the farm. We mix it all.
Yep.
And we boil it for 30 minutes, until the meat gets soft.
Yep.
So, how big? And also, also we serve it that with tortillas.
Mm-hmm.
So the tortillas mean, have a lot of use on the on the kitchen here.
They have a ton of use.
Yeah,
So what are some of the things that your family was growing or producing on the farm, or that in general Guanacaste families produce that they're eating in their day-to-day lives?
so like I mean, corn was the principal, production here. Corns, rice also, banana or cuadrado, we say cuadrado, yuca, yuca is like a rubber tuber.
Uh-huh.
Also, we have like this tiquisque. I
Yep.
don't know the traduction of tiquisque.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know that
another
either.
kind of tuber, I say, a small tuber.
Yeah, you would see a lot of families here. Central America was a hot spot, obviously, for corn. And still today in Guanacaste, you see people planting their milpa, or small cornfield. That becomes the basis to feed the chickens. The corn is used in tortillas and a number of other dishes. Then you'd also see a lot of people would have a chawite, or what do you call a place where all the bananas in cuadrado?
Chawite.
Chawite.
Yeah,
El chawite, which is, a place on the farm where you've got bananas, cuadrados, and plantains growing. It's important to understand there are a million different things that look like an American would think a banana looks that aren't bananas. And one of the things Elias brought up was the cuadrados, which are really, how would you describe a cuadrado to an American?
So cuadrado is kind of like, it's a banana family, but it's a round, short, and it's also green when they are not ready, and yellow when they are, ready, and very sweet.
Uh-huh.
They say cuadrado is the height is have a big value on protein.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and I found them, it's funny you say that they're sweet. I would feel like cuadrados, they're definitely less sweet than bananas. They're kind of starchier and they're not quite as much of a fruit breakfast item as they are something you can put in soup or
just fry, cut in a piece and fry when they get ready. But also, I remember my grandma, they make like a tart of cuadrados.
Okay.
Mix it with cuajada. So they match it like a mashed potato.
Uh-huh.
And adding cuajada. And make looks like a tortilla, but it's a tart.
Yeah.
So a little small.
A patty.
Thick. It was really good, really good.
Yeah, interesting.
You can eat it, just like that, or you can add to other, dishes. So.
Yeah. No, I think you find a lot of, in the rural living out here in Guanacaste, you take the different kinds of foods you have and you prepare them every different possible way, combining and mashing them sometimes, other times, to try and make life more interesting. Obviously, Gallo Pinto is a Costa Rican, sort of something that the country is known for. It's the national dish. Explain what Gallo Pinto is.
So, yeah, sure. Gallo Pinto is rice and beans mixed with many kinds of spices. And, you mix it and you use it. This is one of the most important things for make a really Gallo Pinto. When you, make or prepare the frijoles, it don't have to be really, really fresh. You're using the frijoles from the day before.
Yep.
This is the most important thing. The rice, it could be, fresh, or you can be, from time, be sitting there.
Yep.
But the frijoles is, is the sense of if you are gonna make a really good gallo pinto or not.
Yep.
But this is, gallo pinto is rice and bean mixed with all the cilantros,
And Elias keeps referring to spices, and I think the English word really, you're sort of talking about the flavors,
exactly,
like cilantro, garlic,
onions,
not necessarily
pepper,
paprika, and chile dulce, so a little bit of.
I'm talking about really really fresh spices like
Yep.
like you explained, cilantro, onions.
Yeah.
Some people using celery or carrot. We don't like carrot because that gives you a more color,
Yep.
and we want to preserve the essence of Gallo Pinto. Either you use beans, black beans or red beans.
Yep. And he made an interesting point that the best Gallo Pinto is using leftover beans. During 2 years living with, my sort of abuelito, my grandparents, here in Costa Rica, I was on a very traditional homestead, and every day my host mother, Doña Lydia, was making really lunch, or sort of an early afternoon that was the formal meal, had the fresh cooked beans and rice, or she'd rather make the beans and rice for lunch, and you've got them actually separate on your plate. And then next day in the morning, she would make pinto out of the rice and beans that had been left over. But then really the pinto would get better as time went on, because she might pull out a bunch from the fridge, heat it up with some fat, and get it ready for one day. And then if you didn't eat it that day, it would go back in the fridge, and the next day you'd heat it up again. The beans, all the while, if you've got a pot in the fridge, have been sitting there and really just sort of collecting their flavor and getting that texture.
No, that's
you're
right.
It's
right.
very important.
Right.
The texture has to be there. Let's go on and talk a little bit about the traditional sort of special holiday foods that you see in Guanacaste, and touch on some of those treats that would come up at holidays.
Yes, first we are gonna focus on Easter week. Easter, because we are very familiar with corn, so most of our food on Easter is, rosquillas. I don't know what's the name of rosquillas in English, and
it's not. Hopefully we can bring up a picture of these as well.
Also tanelas. Okay, there's a nice
rosquillas.
Rosquillas,
are traditional bread. It's made with corn flour rather than wheat flour. And you put a little bit of the like dry cheese in rosquillas, or no?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
In the past we used to add cuajadas. Cuajadas, it gives you a little bit of this flavor, a little. It's not a really sour, but it's kind of like a chewy.
Yep.
Yeah. Also tanelas, tamal dulce.
Yep.
This is for eating, and for drink we use chicha.
And chicha is made out of black corn.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So all of these dishes, canelas, tamal dulce, rosquillas, and the drink he mentioned, chicha, are made from corn. Chicha is made from maíz morado, or purple or black corn.
We call them maíz pujahua.
And I have no idea how to translate that whatsoever.
That's it's just, the traduction is it's just black corn. It's just all purple purple corn.
But you could see how important corn was, and most families have a mud oven, or an oven built out of clay that's a sort of dome traditional oven that looks like a pizza oven, in which they bake these rosquillas, tanela, and tamal dulce. And you'll see really at Eastern, even nowadays, the people from the Central Valley in Costa Rica all come flooding out to Guanacaste for their vacations. And a lot of them are looking for these things. They need to buy rosquillas, and they're looking specifically for all of this stuff made from maíz criollo. They've come back out to this area and they want stuff that's made out of homegrown corn rather than the fake industrially produced stuff that they've gotten in the Central Valley and cities. So you still see the traditions in Guanacaste very strong and vibrant. You see other people in Costa Rica that appreciate them, that come out here and look for that sort of stuff. Now, there are tons of dishes that begin with arroz de or arroz con.
Yeah, it's just
rice dishes.
Arroz de maíz. This is like a daily, for eating every day if you want. This is a traditional dish in Guanacaste, the arroz de maíz. Even if we say arroz de maíz, it don't have nothing to see with rice. This is all made by corn also.
Yeah.
Which is funny because we say arroz de maíz, but what the people do is how to say moler.
They grind up the corn
very, very, very thin. That's it, and add it chicken, which was the most popular and easy to grow here in the past. So we add chicken, and you see a cuadrado there.
Yep.
So
definitely.
You see maíz, corn, cuadrado, and chicken. So this is the base of the arroz de maíz.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see the farm lifestyle translated into all of the food. Elias was joking. It's called arroz de maíz, which would literally in English be rice from corn, but there's not rice in the dish. It's actually just ground corn that's been turned into a sort of stew or like a really thick soup.
Yes.
With chicken, and you can add cilantro, and you can add a little bit of spice if you wanted to, etc. But very much, I ate arroz de maíz bastante in Florida.
Oh, yes.
And you saw, I ended up where I was living eating rice and beans in some form or another. Rice, beans, corn, and chicken were part of every single meal, and really just doing different things with those basic ingredients and the cuajada and the different things that they could, catch around the landscape definitely became part of every plate. Now let's talk about...
So also, we can add like a holiday, meat, tamales. Tamales you used to make for New Year's, or December, or Christmas, or New Year. This is what the most popular food here.
And tamales,
and also is made by corn.
Tamales. Coincidentally, are corn flour, as we're seeing now on the screen. Inside the packet of corn flour, you usually have strips of pork. You'd also have little strips of bell pepper and maybe carrot on the inside.
Yeah.
The corn flour is combined with a lot of different ingredients so that the masa, or the substance itself, the tamal, has a ton of flavor. You wrap it in a banana leaf. That's one of the big things that always happens around Christmas. You see a lot of tamales. But basically at holiday times of year, families will get together and make hundreds of these things. There are, some families that will need dozens and dozens just for their own family. There are other people who will make a bunch to sell in the town. And they become really an important part of this gathering. And it's one of those things that all of the cousins and uncles and aunts are sort of anxious to get.
The tamales is so funny because in the past, my family make tons of tamales, and if they see people walking around, they share one tamales. So say, you want a tamale?
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas.
Totally.
It's a good, gift for them.
Totally.
So
There's a ton of sharing and exchanging tamales. Now, we've been talking sort of about the food traditions in this area and what, people eat, Costa Rican families have eaten for decades and decades. It's important to understand that today you have pretty much every food available to you in Guanacaste. And if you're worried about finding easy to eat stuff that's pleasing for your US or Canadian family, don't worry, you have plenty of options. And, Tatas, the restaurant next door to our office, is a great example. They have some Costa Rican dishes, but you can also find burritos, chicken wings,
nachos,
lots of
lots of options. So
yeah, lots of stuff to
Yeah,
please a crowd for sure in the tourism areas. In just a moment, we're going to enjoy one of Tata's and one of many restaurants' best dishes, which are called casados, which are by far the most common dish you're going to find at either the mom and pop sodas, which are small restaurants here, even up to bigger restaurants that are sort of tourism attractions. Would you explain to us what a casado is, Elias?
oh yeah, casado. Well, so casado is rice and beans, and the protein. The protein, it could change either pork, fish, chicken, and right now we are adding like a veggie casado. We are adding vegetable. So
You had an
part of the story of the casado, is what's why the name of casado.
which in English, or the literal translation of casado is married. You would say, estoy casado con mi señora, or soy casado, I'm married.
Yeah. So this dish, is come from the colonial, you know, stage, but on the cities, it's got more relevant, made more commercial. So in the little sodas, the worker start asking for some kind of, dishes that may feel full, but this, meal keep longer for the rest of the day. So when the worker they don't feel full, they ask for more food
Uh-huh.
to the to the cooker. And most of the cooker at that time were ladies. So this guy, asked to the lady more for more food, which means what is you do with your wife,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Give me more. This is why the name of casado come from.
Yep.
So I say, casado is the base of casado is rice and beans, but you can add plantain, you can add salad, you can add other stuff like pasta or caracolitos with atún.
Yeah.
This is
Little-
depending. Yeah, depending on the area you are in Costa Rica, you will find different kind of casado.
Yeah, there will
Like like here in Tatas, we serve casados, rice and beans, and the protein, sweet plantain, salad, and some of the, I would say, pico de gallo.
be. Yep.
So,
A pico de
yeah.
gallo. Pico.
Yeah.
It's actually everyone only knows it as that because it's
Yeah.
typically associated with Central American
Yeah.
food to begin with. But anyhow, your casados are very delicious. I'm going to be inviting my family in here because it's Sunday at 11:30, and we might as well have some delicious Costa Rican food to show you all what a casado looks like. If you're in a restaurant in this area, generally speaking, it will be on the menu and you'll be able to choose your protein. You'll get a fish casado, pork chop, on, whatever they have available that day. And you can depend on there being rice, beans, and then the other side dishes that different restaurants might throw in as part of their casado. So anyhow, if you're in Playa Junquillal or anywhere nearby, be sure to drop in to Tatas Taberna and Cafe. In addition to their wonderful menu that involves both local food and stuff that pleases foreigners, they've got cocktails, they've got beers, definitely, and it's one of the nicest.
Smoothies,
Absolutely, smoothies as well. I really appreciate you coming in to talk about food traditions here in Guanacaste, Elias. Definitely be sure to check out his restaurant if and when you're in the area. And without further ado, we're going to invite in my family here and get some food. Stay tuned. Greetings from Costa Rica. My name is Matt Rosensteel, also known as Costa Rica Matt. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about everything related to moving to Costa Rica. Greetings from Costa Rica. Welcome to my new exclusive listing here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Here in Costa Rica, in Playa Junquillal, Playa Tamarindo, Costa Rica, real estate, a pura vida lifestyle. What the heck? Just kidding. So whether you're interested in buying real estate in Costa Rica or you just want to learn more about this beautiful country, do be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thanks very much for watching. Anyhow, we're here with Daniel, Jonas, and Anne-Marie. What's your favorite casado here in Costa Rica? No, what's your favorite dish or your plate? What did you guys order today?
Food. Casado.
De?
Pescado.
Yes, Daniel and Jonas are big fans of the Casado de Pescado, and that's what they'll be ordering here from Tatas in just a moment. What are your favorite foods, Anne-Marie?
Oh, the typical foods. I also like how they do the fish here. It's always really fresh. Lots of good flavor. Yeah, I'd say like typical food. Also, the Gallo Pinto is the best.
Yes,
So.
Absolutely. No, we even have a woman down the street from us who makes our Gallo Pinto. Oh, that's true. I hadn't answered what I like best. Personally, I like the Casado con chuleta, which is the pork chop casado. That's what I've ordered. I was going to mention that we have a Costa Rican lady who lives down the street who makes absolutely amazing gallo pinto. She cooks on an open fire, which makes something about the gallo pinto even better. Anne-Marie had tried to make it a few times.
How was it, boys? How was Mom's Gallo Pinto?
Good.
It was good. Is it as good as Doña Ana's?
Not that good. Doña Ana's is the best.
Doña Ana's is the best. It
Yeah.
is the best.
Yeah, Doña Ana's gallo pinto is really special, and so we have her make big bowls of it to add in to our meals at our house. I was also going to mention one of the dishes that we didn't bring up was arroz con pollo. Rice with chicken is a dish that you see very often here. Yeah, Daniel? Daniel wants to say a few words. About food in Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Eggs is my favorite thing too.
Okay.
Absolutely. Eggs are a big part of our diet because we have our laying hens out back behind the house. And that's one of the foods that you'd also see a ton of Guanacaste families eating day in and day out because laying hens are so popular in this area. We're waiting on our food here. You can expect that in Costa Rica, a lot of restaurants are not going to be as overbearingly on top of you as you see at family restaurants in the US, for example. Servers at times, when you're waiting for food or when you're waiting for your bill, a lot of times you will have to sort of signal people down and ask that they come over. You can expect that really it's not going to be a driving rush to have you eat and get off of your table. You don't see restaurants trying to flip people or, drive that huge volume of business that you see at a lot of places in the US. And sometimes if you, for example, hope that a couple casados can be served at a precise time, they might be a few minutes later than you plan. Do you guys have other foods that you really like eating here? Yes, Jonas?
Beef.
Beef, absolutely. Guanacaste is a cattle ranching place, and while most of the beef that you see in restaurants here is not going to be from the local farms, it's definitely a common dish as well. Yes, Daniel? What? Oh, yeah, they were going to talk about a restaurant that they like that's actually run by Argentinians and features mainly burgers. We really like that restaurant as well. I was going to mention, and something I've neglected to do until this point in the video, is that every Sunday at 11 a.m., I'm live here on YouTube providing all kinds of information about Costa Rica, especially focused on real estate, purchasing property, etc., but also food. Yes, Daniel? Jonas, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes.
Okay.
They make excellent cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Yes.
They even put bacon in it.
Yeah. One of the topics that I mentioned before was the fact that, yes, there is great traditional Costa Rican food available to eat here in Costa Rica. You can still find a lot of these older plates, but you can certainly find new stuff as well. And if you're considering a trip to Costa Rica and you feel nervous about eating just rice and beans, don't worry, you can also find delicious bacon cheeseburgers on and
Just
on.
seconds ago.
Daniel, go ahead. What do you have to
We'll
say?
be patient. We'll be patient.
I like their empanadas with barbecue there.
Yes. This is especially fresh on their mind.
Pasteles. Did
Yeah.
you guys talk about pasteles?
Yeah,
We-
pasteles. I was going to say pasteles.
What are pasteles?
They're like kind of burritos, but smaller.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
With-
What do they put inside them?
Rice.
Yep.
Yellow golden rice.
It's something we hadn't touched on.
With chicken.
Yep.
Yep.
The pastel, which confusingly is also the word or one of the words for cake in Spanish, is actually a fried, small sort of moon-shaped pastry.
It's a lot like an empanada.
Yeah, it's a lot like an empanada. They'll use, nowadays you see a lot of wheat flour used for empanadas, though back in the day they would have used only corn flour. And it's a pocket typically filled with either arroz con pollo, as I mentioned, rice with chicken, or it can have a different rice filling in there, maybe arroz cantonés with little bits of sort of, bits and pieces of sausage, essentially, in a very thin dough that's fried crisp. Those can be absolutely delicious. You see them at a lot of sort of events like soccer games. You'll also see people making them on special occasions when family are coming over. But more than anything, a pastel can be sort of street food where if somebody has a small supermarket, they'll have a little display case in the front with pasteles available. Yes, Daniel?
I believe you're right because like these kind of a half moon does look like a pastel.
Yes, a half moon does look like a pastel.
Which is actually a cloud coming in.
Yep, which is like another food that Elias and I didn't get to are chicharrones, or essentially pork rinds. And chicharrones, here are they're very important in a culture that previously was raising a lot of pigs at home, because when you slaughter the pig, you first have to get the skin off of it. And what they'll do with the pork skin here is essentially, get the pig all cleaned and ready, peel off that skin, and then cut it into square chunks to make chicharrones. Here we have a picture. They're fried to an absolute crisp. You can find them where they're less fried a bit, and they're called chicharrones de carne. They're still a bit squishy. And chicharrones are another sort of street food, but also that really have a place on these rural homestead sorts of farms where everybody grew up craving that salty, fatty pork skin that would be absolutely delicious. You might sprinkle a little bit of lemon on them, but because it's the first thing that you could eat when a pig was ready. I remember when I was living at the farm that I spent 2 years at, as soon as the pig was cleaned, you'd see the skin coming off, and usually a fire built nearby where you could throw the strips of skin immediately and start making these pork rinds. So even sort of as soon as the pig was all cleaned and the meat put in the fridge, you would have fresh cut, hot, greasy pork rinds to eat that were absolutely delicious. If you're that kind of eater. I know it doesn't necessarily appeal to anybody. Go ahead, Jonas. You want to say something as well? Oh, yeah. He's saying, yeah, if you're a good eater like Jonas. This kid eats absolutely everything, whether it's pork rinds or a variety of foods you might not normally see. Yeah, he eats octopus, all kinds of seafood, etc. But anyhow, folks, it seems that we may have had either a miscommunication about the casados, or that things got complicated in the kitchen next door, so that they weren't able to bring these out. Rather than continue to have you all waiting for our casados to be served, I think it would be better at this juncture that we'll just go over to Tatas and eat our casados over there. How does that sound? Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
What are you going to order to drink?
Smoothie.
Smoothie? Yeah, absolutely.
Dad?
Yes? Okay, yeah, you just want camera time. Thanks as always for joining me. I'll be here live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Really appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in moving to Costa Rica, be sure to send me an email to matt@cbpacificrealty.com. Thanks very much for joining us. Have a great Sunday. We'll see you next time, and pura vida.